All right, welcome to the 26th episode of the Revolutionary Code, where we bring the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, Black people here in America. I'm your host, Brother Tamani Mwandani, out of Houston, Texas. I am the direct revolutionary product of one Cardinal and Bayou Chewy, out of the shrines of the Black Madonna, and the indirect revolutionary product of one Albert B. Clegg, African name Jaramogi Baby Hajiman, the father of liberation theology and the founder of the shrines of the Black Madonna. I'm also the founder of the Black Gold Nation Movement. My co-host, the National Director of Political Strategy and Implementation for the Black Gold Nation Movement and the Chairman of LACE, Liberation Advocates for Community Empowerment, the intellectual gangster, corporate grassroots revolutionary, and master domino assassin from Shreveport, Louisiana, aka the Boot, Brother Craig B. Lee. Brother Craig, how you doing this evening?
Man, I'm so hyped because I got cryptocurrency accounts set up and I've made a few trades this week. And brother, all I can tell you is don't let them slip up. Don't let them slip up. It don't even have to go as high as Bitcoin. It can just give me $500 a coin or 1,000, and it'll just be over. It'll be over.
Okay.
So it's a great.
All right.
Great.
Cool. Before we get into the show this evening, let me give you guys a little bit of information about the Black Gold Nation movement. Our ultimate goal is to put ourselves in a position by which we can own or control the environment where we live, as opposed to allowing other people to control it. And we believe in this movement that when we allow other people to control our environment, we lose, period. Whenever we allow other people to control any aspect of that environment, any systems within our environment that other people control, we always find ourselves on the bottom of those systems. So be it the agricultural system, the educational system, the spiritual system, the security system, the political system, when we allow other people to control it, we always find ourselves on the bottom of it. So since we no longer want to be on the bottom, since we no longer want to be in a losing position, we want to be on the top. We want to be able to control the space where we live. So that is why we are here. We are not here just to inform or educate you. We are here to inform, educate, motivate, mobilize, organize, and build. Everything we say and everything we do is about bringing our people together so we can find the right Black people so we can move forward and do something that's going to put our children and our children's children in a position of power. Tonight's show title is The Danger of Political Ignorance and Our Pathway to Power. The Danger of Political Ignorance and Our Pathway to Power. Tonight's show is sponsored by Regeneration 180 and Regeneration's Freedom School. In the Black Gold Nation, we like to promote the work of our members. And if you have teenagers, it's especially for them. Sister Jennifer, who is in charge of our youth education division, is hosting a book club discussing the Willie Lynch letter and the making of a slave. It begins on March 2nd. So you can find out more about this program. I'll put the link in the chat, but it's regeneration180.on/teen-self-work. I'll put it in the chat. So with that, tonight's show is going to be a little bit different because we're having this show as a result of a video that Brother Craig sent me about Sister Fannie Lou Hamer. If you don't know who that is, she was a voting and women's rights activist, community and civil rights organizer and revolutionary, soldier for real, and a warrior. She was being interviewed by a reporter from Europe about the founding of the Freedom Democrat Party and their desire to have candidates run for Congress, including herself. The interview is quite telling on a number of levels. Overall, it's just the kind of questions that he's asking and what she doesn't know is kind of telling about her understanding of a political party. And we can most certainly see the same thing in our people today. So I'm going to share the video. We're going to listen to the interview. And Brother Craig is going to prompt me when she has made a point or when the white boy's made a point that he wants to highlight, elucidate, talk about, discuss, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to share my screen as usual. And we're going to watch this interview, Sister Fannie Lou Hamer, and we're going to go from there. Brother Craig, you have anything you want to add to the intro?
Oh, no. And I'm glad that we're doing it the way that you're going to do it and going through the whole 30 minutes and integrating the stoppages and the lesson. So that's great.
Cool. All right. So can everybody see my screen? I need two people to let me know. Cool. Can play it real quick.
With me.
Can y'all hear it? Two people? Yeah, cool. One other
Yes.
person? Good, excellent. Okay, cool. All right, here we go.
Is Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer, a member of the Executive Committee of the Freedom Democratic Party and a candidate of that party for the United States Congress. Mrs. Hamer, tell us a little about yourself, what part of the South you come from, and how you got involved in Freedom Democratic Party politics.
Thank you very much. My home is in Roosevelt, Mississippi. It's located in the Black Belt of Mississippi, known as the Delta area. And actually, the way I got involved in the Freedom Democrat Party is we tried to get in the regular Democrat Party. We tried from the precinct level up to the county and from the county to the state. I remember when we tried to attend the precinct meeting at the little polling place in Roosevelt. It was 8 of us, 8 Negroes went up to visit the precinct meeting, and the door was locked and we couldn't get in. And we stood on the outside and held our own meeting. We elected our chairman and our secretary, our delegates and our alternates, and we passed a law to resolution. And we moved from the precinct level on through the county and up to the state. The 24th of April in 1964, we organized at the Masonic Temple in Jackson, Mississippi, the Mississippi Freedom Democrat Party. Mm-hmm. And then the 24th of August in 1964, we went to the National Convention in Atlantic City, New Jersey, to challenge the seating of the regular delegation from Mississippi.
Mm-hmm. In which you were unsuccessful.
That's right. We was offered 2 votes at large as a compromise.
In the convention?
In the convention. Mm-hmm. But after 100 years, we wouldn't accept a compromise because it didn't mean anything to 63,000 people at that time was registered with the Freedom Democrat Party, so we didn't compromise. So again, in January...
All right, so this is very, very important. And you're about to hear how the interviewer, who is from Europe, who has a very keen understanding of political systems, politics, political parties, you're going to start to hear his questioning. And the first thing I want to say, when Tamani and I do analysis of our ancestors, hey, good evening, Brother Mike. When we do analysis of our ancestors, whether it be through documentaries, movies, books, magazine articles, or in this case, an actual interview, okay? It is not our intent to disparage or down our ancestors. Fannie Lou Hamer was definitely a soldier. She was a warrior. She wasn't a soldier, she was a warrior. She didn't have to take advice from higher ups. She went and made things happen. But although she was a warrior, you're gonna hear in this interview a lot of mistakes that they made because she lacked the education and understanding of just politics, period, governmental politics. And the first thing in this first 2 minutes, she said they tried to get into the local Democratic meeting, all right? Well, that wasn't going to happen. The Democratic Party was the Republican Party of today at that point in time. That's number one. Number two, okay, they're not going to let you in. They did something powerful, and they organized their 8, as she said, Negroes outside to now do this Freedom Democratic Party. Well, now we got a problem. See, because they put the word Democrat in there, okay? They should have just said, if they were, and we're going to get into the third party thing, They should have just said Freedom Party, but they said Freedom Democratic Party. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, and Tamani can go on and kick it back up.
Began in the 4th of
They
January.
organized. Y'all hear me?
We
All right, they organized on April the 24th, 1964. Okay, the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. And where did they go in August? To the damn Democratic Convention.
Mhm.
If you're starting a third party, you don't go to the party that's already locking you out convention. So you hear what she said, we have been denied. You're not going to come and tell racist white folks what you will and will not accept, but they didn't understand the game. And here we are now, 57 years later, not understanding the game. And so I'm glad that Tamani saw fit to use this as a case analysis, because ignorance must stop. We got to stop it. I love Sister Fannie and some of the other courageous people, but in 57 years later, we can't continue to make these same unconscious, ignorant decisions about believing that we're going to force our way into this party system. And who is Fannie Lou Hamer, who is doing this today? AOC, the Mexican chick up in New York, the Muslim sisters, they call themselves the squad or the gang or whatever. They are doing the same era that Fannie Lou Hamer and them did 57 years ago. Keep on going, Brother Tamani.
candidates from the Freedom Democrat Party, Mrs. Gray, Mrs. Devine, and I went up before the door of the House of Representatives to contest the seating of the 5 representatives from Mississippi, and we was turned away, and we wasn't allowed to even go in to have, to contest their seating. We didn't go there to be seated because we knew from the beginning that we wouldn't be seated, but we wanted to explain our side, whereas
You went there knowing that you wouldn't be seated, but you went there to make an appeal to Mr. Charlie. And Mr. Charlie put your ass out. So I want you to think about this now. The time that you're wasting to make an appeal to Mr. Charlie. But you knew Mr. Charlie was not going to allow you to be seated. But you still went anyway. Keep on.
a state that 42% of the people can't register. They wasn't representing us. And I think it's time now for somebody to be in Congress that's going to represent the people of Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And we wasn't allowed to go inside, but that didn't stop the challenge. We did have that day 149 congressmen that stood up against these people being seated. So we are still working with this challenge, and we hope by the last of this month, which is August, that we will have a chance to unseat these congressmen. Because actually, this voting bill that the president passed last week, it doesn't mean anything. And I'm not looking for a voting bill in 1965 when they are not enforcing the voting bill and our voting rights with the 15th Amendment, which guaranteed us the same rights to vote from the 15th Amendment in 18.
So you hear the double talk, and I love Sister Fannie. 1 minute you're saying that you're not looking for anything because the 15th Amendment gave us the right to vote, but you're going to ask Mr. Charlie and them to recognize you, which you know that they weren't. But then you say 100+ congressmen stood against the 5 delegates, but the goddamn delegates still were seated. So how did they stand against them? We get caught up in too much symbolism, and we're not really understanding because, again, now you're in the big league. Here's a question, Brother Tamani, and I always ask you this question. Can you build a house or a commercial structure from the roof down?
No, sir, you cannot.
So what in the hell do you think you're going to go to Washington to appeal to the federal government to open up the door for you to become a congressperson, and you ain't even controlling what goes on in your local territory?
That's right.
This is what we don't understand, y'all. Sister Fannie was trying to run for Congress, and she wasn't even in political position in her own city and county. So what she was trying to do was make an appeal at the national level, believing that the good white folks from the North and the East Coast and the West Coast were going to force these hardcore racist white folks to do the right thing. About 42% of Negroes in Mississippi. But guess what? They're all the damn same. Mm-hmm. So if you mean that you're starting a third party, you got to do a third party. Not play like you're doing a third party, but do it. Keep on going.
1870. And at that time, 1870, Mississippi was readmitted back to the Union because they promised at that time that they wouldn't do anything to disenfranchise Negroes to keep them from registering to vote. So now it's a matter of a violation of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. And what I'm curious to see, do the Constitution of the United States mean anything? So far it hadn't worked, and I'm sick of seeing this kind of stuff on paper.
So listen, she knows that this is a violation of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, and she admits it has not worked. I'm sick of seeing it on paper, but you're still going to go make the appeal to them. So I want you all to understand the pathology of the mind of our people as a byproduct of slavery. And again, I give her credit for standing up, but this is the same thing that's going on today. I'm not really so much being critical of her because she didn't know. But 57 years later, these Negroes are still doing the same damn thing. So that tells you that there's a pathology inside of our people that we really want these white folks to love us, and we want them to do the right thing, and it's never going to happen. Keep on going.
We want them to do something about it because we are a part of America, because we didn't come here on our own. Our parents and our descendants was from Africa, and we didn't come on our own, but we do want to be treated as human beings. And I'm fighting for human right, not for equal right.
Mm-hmm. I'm rather interested in one thing here. Before you set up your own Democratic Party, you tried to enter the local Democratic Party, and I wondered why you did that, because my instinct, if I'd been in your situation, would be not to join that club, that Democratic club or Democratic organization, but to form another one with all the liberal people in the community, to contest the elections as the Democratic Party.
The reason we tried, if we hadn't tried to go in it, and then just set this one up, mm-hmm. They would have said from the beginning, if we had tried, we could have got in theirs. But you see, we done the only fair thing to do. We wasn't accepted, so we've set up a Freedom Democrat Party in Mississippi, and I think it's one of the most effective weapons in this whole United States.
I see, I'm still a little puzzled. Maybe it's because I'm a foreigner. I would never join the Democratic Party in this country if I were an American citizen, because part of the party is racialist. I'd say they'd have to throw them out before I joined it. And perhaps Europeans think more ideologically about their parties.
Well, I don't think you thinking ideologic about it. What? But we got quite an education in seeing what the whole Democrat Party of this country was like.
What was your impression of it?
You know, in fact, I cried. I don't know would I really been involved in politics now if I had known it was like it is.
So now she admits that she cried. And now the damn white boy is puzzled as hell. He's puzzled. Because he's like, wait a minute. what in the hell would you want to do being a part of the Democratic Party for? Now, you guys really need to know that our people started out coming out of slavery, being a part of the Republican Party. And that was all because of Lincoln and the pseudo-Emancipation Proclamation, the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment. Although that did not tangibly do anything at the time, but the Republican Party, all of these legislation happened under them. When we get to 1866, Reconstruction started under them. 1877, Reconstruction stopped. Why? Because of the goddamn Democratic Party. Now, the Republican Party allowed them to kill us, come back and kill us and take over states like Louisiana, Mississippi. But the Democratic Party was always the claim. Okay? So when did Negroes start to become Democrats? Under Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the 1930s, under what they call the New Deal. Follow me now. So now, 78 years later, 77 years later, now we get what? What do we know? 87 years later, we get what? We get the Green New Deal under Biden. See, all of this is game. All this is game. But she has the interviewer totally confused. Because he's like, what the hell? And when he says, maybe in Europe, he tries to give her a way out. We're just ideologically, focused. He gives her a way out. So she said, oh, no, you ain't ideological. I think she thought that probably meant he was saying, maybe we're just idiots. But he said ideological. He's talking about philosophy and concept, ideology. See, they don't know what that means. So you're aligning yourself, but you're crying, but you're still gonna go forth. It's crazy, but keep on going, brother.
But one day, I think, working with this Mississippi Freedom Democrat Party, and so many great people that I find in this country, and especially these young people of this country, we will have a great democracy. And only through that we can bring a change, because I'm really fed up with covering up stuff, This stuff has been covered up year after year. And we are beginning now to sweep it out from under the rug, that the world can see that we are not free in America. And that make nobody free here until we all are free.
But let me clear up another point with you, or have you clear up another point. Does the Freedom Democratic Party regard itself as a group that wants to make the Democratic Party more democratic in the way that Theodore Roosevelt and his Bull Moose Party tried to change the Republican Party, going back and merging with the party again when it had accepted his views? Or do you really consider this a third party now?
Well, to me, it really seemed to be actually a third party, because it is so far different from the Democrats of this country. And I don't see no other way other than a third party.
Many people think of the Freedom Democratic Party as principally a civil rights organization that's entered politics. But is it more than that? Does it have a wide sort of program on a great number of issues beside this matter of voting rights and civil rights?
Yes, and it is not an organization.
So I wanted that to play out, although I was going to stop it a little bit before. So the dude asked, is this really a third party, or is this you all trying to force them to do something? And look at what she said. Well, I believe. You see what I'm saying? So she knows that this is what they're trying to do, but they're trying to sell it as something different. But they really thought that they were going to get in there and make an appeal to all of these Ku Klux Klan crackers in Mississippi and then throughout the country. They really thought by going to the National Convention in 1964 that they were going to force the crackers of Mississippi to come under the guise of the other crackers in the United States. And so this is why this is sounding kind of crazy. So now he's saying, are you guys just a civil rights organization trying to insert yourself into the Democratic Party, or you are really about changing public policy? Keep on going.
Organization. It is a party, not an organization.
I'm glad you made that clear. Could you tell us something about the main...
Just so y'all know, a party, a political party is an organization. But again, she doesn't understand. So it wasn't about whether what she's doing is an organization. The focus was, what type of organization was it? Is it a civil rights organization, or is it a straight up political organization? And so she said, we're not an organization, but that wasn't the focus of the question. Keep on going.
Planks in the platform of the party, starting with civil rights, exactly what you're aiming to achieve there in terms of legislation.
Well, we stand, and I don't know what I should say all of this or not, but our policy are far different from from even the National Democrat Party. It is very different. The things that we stand for, and in foreign policies, it's quite a different.
Well, good. Now, on domestic policy, I take it you stand for a greater amount of legislation guaranteeing individual rights.
Yes.
And I gather you don't think in terms of just Negro rights, but individual rights, period.
Individual rights. You see, it doesn't matter to me whether the person is an Indian, a Jew, a Chinese, a Mexican, whatever.
Stop. 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 Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. And he set up so cold with it because he asked a question about individual and not just Negro. And she fell for it. This is where we're at. Now, ain't no goddamn Indians and Mexicans, none of them in Mississippi getting oppressed and beat up, but you still want to advocate for them. Why? Because you're scared to stand up for your goddamn self. I mean, this is the pathology of the slave mind. It's sad. Keep on going, man. Keep on going.
Whatever nation they are, I think they should have their rights.
Now, what you mentioned foreign policy a moment ago. For instance, the biggest issue in foreign policy at the moment is the war in Vietnam. Does the party take any position in American involvement in an Asian conflict?
Well, right now I hadn't met with the executive committee to to say what stand that the Freedom Democrat Party will have on a policy of Vietnam. I have my own personal feelings about Vietnam.
But the party will come out with a policy on it?
I'm not sure, but we might. We have been accused of saying that, the stand we had taken, but at the time it was said that we had taken, made a policy of what we felt about Vietnam. The executive committees at that time hadn't had a meeting, to say what we would say. But personally, I'm against America going to Vietnam. And the reason, I have several reasons why I don't think that we have any business in Vietnam. First place, I don't think that you can tell me how and clean up my house if your house is, is nasty. I think we'll have to think in terms of cleaning up our own place before we can go and do a job some other place.
One of the other major issues regarding Asia.
Stop. So you bring up foreign policy. You're saying you're a political party, but you don't have a foreign policy platform. And so the dude brings up the Vietnam War, and now you say, well, I haven't met with the executive committee, but I got my own personal feelings. But you're representing a damn party, and you're going to hear in the interview where she says that they got 75,000 people, but you have no platform, so this makes no sense. So he's exposing the fact that you're really not understanding the dynamics of this because you can't even articulate, what your position is on the Vietnam War, other than as an individual that you don't feel that we should be there. Keep on going.
And it's kind of sad, the more you listen to it, because, as you said in the beginning, powerful sister, strong, courageous, but there were just some things that she just didn't know and she wasn't prepared for. She's trying to deal with what it means to be Black in Mississippi on a local level, and trying to go the national route, and she don't even have a national conversation. So she was just ill prepared, which is unfortunate because she's doing the best she can with what she has and understands. But like you said, 50 some odd years later, we're still doing the same stuff.
Exactly.
Asia, of course, is recognition of China, what they call it Communist China here, and admission of China to the United Nations, of Peking government to the Chinese seat in the United Nations. Does the party have a position on that?
Well, we don't have a position on that. Okay. But I hear the word communist quite often. In fact, I have.
Stop. Lord. So now this is the second foreign policy issue. The two biggest issues going at that time, Vietnam and China. But you say you're a political party, and you're now trying to take the national stage in America. So if you take the national stage in America, i.e. being on the goddamn roof, that means you're on the international stage because the United States was the international superpower. So now you don't have so what the hell are you doing going to the national convention trying to tell the Klan to let you in and to try to change the Klan? But you don't have a position on none of this. I love you, sister. I love you. But you should have stayed your ass at the house. And there is no way you should be on an international broadcast in 1964. And you don't know these things. And that's why I love what Tamani has, the creator and the ancestors have allowed Tamani to do in terms of mobilizing all of us. There is no one person, even myself, no matter how many skills that I have understanding this stuff, there is no one person that's going to understand all of it. So you got to have competent, visionary, talented Black folks. And we, goddammit, are going to be unapologetic in telling you that we're advocating for our people, period. And we ain't going to be shucking and jiving, talking about advocating for no Chinese people and no damn Mexican people or nobody else. We can form alliances and we can partnership. But you got to advocate for your people and we got to advocate for our people, period. This is a team sport, not no damn rainbow coalition sport. Keep on going.
Have been called a communist, and I begin to question now if communists stand for all the things we fight for, because if all the things we fighting for, if communists stand for that, it'd be a whole lot more than we've ever been offered in this country. But I don't know anything about communism. If I've ever seen a communist, I don't know it.
Well, in fact, President de Gaulle.
So now, you'd have heard about communism, but you ain't read a damn thing about communism. You ain't never seen a communist. I don't think I'd have seen a communist, but I'm hearing it's a good thing. So come on. Nobody on this call. You better not go on no interview. I don't give a damn if it's Head Start. Whatever the subject matter is, research it. Don't go on no interview and don't know what communism is, socialism is, capitalism is, because they don't know. They don't know. And this is the same thing 57 years later. So again, I love sister, but this is where we're at in 2021. Keep on going.
Is pledged now to actively work for the seating of in the United Nations of Communist China. He's recognized Communist China, and I don't think he's a communist.
Is that right?
Of course, yes.
Well, that's great. You see, I don't know actually anything about communism. But everybody I see, if we push just a little farther than they think we should push, then they say this is communist. So I began to wonder about communists, because from what the people is really telling us, it must be very good.
Well, I've
Sister B hit it right on the goddamn head. Regurgitating American propaganda. Regurgitating American white supremacist propaganda. And it's painful to listen, but we gotta hear this, because guess what? It's obvious that, Sister Fannie Lou had not done formal education. She had to stop working and stop going to school and start working to help her family. But the Negroes who went to college and can articulate better than her, guess what? They don't know a goddamn thing, just like she didn't know. They just sound better. But yeah, this is the regurgitation of American propaganda. Keep on.
I've lived around the world. I don't like communism, but the aspects of communism I don't like, which are the repression of certain types of freedom, the control of the press, and so forth. We are finding that in many countries we are supporting.
That's very true.
What about questions like nuclear disarmament? Has the party come out with any positions on this?
Did y'all hear that? Now, she don't know a damn thing about communism. But the white boy starts to elaborate on what he don't like about communism, freedom, suppression of certain rights, especially when it comes to the press. And Sister says that's very true. Oh, keep on going.
Not so far.
Mm-hmm. No, not on NATO?
No, we hadn't come out with no policy.
What about, or does this include?
Don't know nothing about NATO. So why would you even bring up foreign policy? Why would you even bring that up? So all of these, that's why I say you cannot build a house or commercial structure from the roof down. Guess what? My focus is on, and the BGN's focus is on taking over villages, towns, small cities, and mid-sized cities. So if somebody asks me or Tamani a damn question about NATO, we have no position on that, because our focus is on local politics. Well, what about this, that, and the third in Somalia? We have no position on that. Our focus is at the local level. You see, that's all. Keep on going, man.
Include domestic legislation, for instance, on health. Now, I'm from Britain, and in Britain we regard it as a right that everyone, whatever his means, should have medical care as much as he needs, and the best available, without the thought about cost. The doctors and patients don't have to think of the money. Is this
Yes,
anything that appeals to you?
We have. Well, I actually don't know how far this will go, but we push for medical care, because not only can aged people be sick without money, but young people can be sick without money. And I think any person that needs medical care should be, treated.
Do you have any feelings about the ownership of industry or anything? Is there any policy on this? Do you taken any positions on this?
The industry being in the state of Mississippi?
Well, in the state or nationwide. Have they got any theories about economic structures in society, about whether something should be nationalized or made into cooperatives? Or
Yes, we are talking about that. In fact, now, one of the young men that have been working for us is you're bringing out something that's called Bricks for Freedom, and if we can get help with this, we'll have people trained to make bricks and also concrete, and then real contractors to teach these people, And if this government is going to do anything for the poverty-stricken people, it will be time for them to invest some money in, and these people can be paid as they be trained to work and can build their own homes, that will be a decent place to live in instead of the present condition of the homes that we live in now. I noticed for the past.
Not right there. So now we get into healthcare and economics. And the dude, remember now, this is 57 years ago. He asked her a question that most Negroes in the 21st century couldn't even answer. And that's about universal health care. He asked a universal health care question in 1964. So she wasn't even understanding where he was going with that, but she, talked about medical care and whatnot, but she doesn't understand what that was. But what he's talking about is universal health care for everybody, and meaning that the medical system, they did, Alma, they already had it in Britain. So that tells you something. They've had universal health care, exactly, Bernadine, since 1947. Okay? So he's asking her a question about policy that already exists, and she had not even ever thought to study that. But you're trying to go national. And then on the economic level, they talking about making some goddamn bricks and some goddamn concrete. White folks building damn skyscrapers 5,000 feet in the damn air. And we talking about some bricks. This is a damn local issue. Okay, well, keep on going.
I would say the past 5 or 6 months to keep the news of the Freedom Democrat Party, from being in the light of people, for people to really know what the Freedom Democrat Party purpose is and what it's doing. The news about the Freedom Democrat Party has been completely sabotaged. We can't get out news. Sometimes we'll have a press conference and they won't even show it.
Even the national papers that have been sympathetic to the Negro cause, like the New York Times.
So you want the white folks, you want your master to cover all your meetings and give you all your shine, and now you don't understand why they ain't doing it. What a concept. You're going against the Democratic Party, although you still want to be a part of the Democratic Party, but you want the media to cover you so that you can undermine the Democratic Party, but now you don't understand why the hell they ain't covering you. Keep on going, brother.
The New York Times hadn't been doing too much recently. I don't know from what source they're getting pressure, but I think somewhere along the line they are being pressured.
Stop. She don't know where the hell the New York Times getting pressure from. White folks. Keep on going, man.
And I know we are not getting the news that we, at the beginning, like in Atlantic City in 1964, the news media was almost run over you to see what the Freedom Democrat Party had to say. Yes. But now they are, beginning to kind of get away from the Freedom Democrat Party.
Mm-hmm. Now, what has been happening to the fortunes of the Freedom Democratic Party? Has its membership been growing? And would you tell me, first off, whether it's an all-Negro party or whether it's multiracial? Well,
the party is open to any person, that's over 21 years old. It's open to all people. In fact, the executive national committee man is a white man, and he is a Mississippian.
The damn crackers then excluded you out the damn party. You create a new damn party, and now you got a damn cracker over the national, bruh. It's painful, man.
Yeah.
And y'all wonder why we are in the position that we're in. But I get it. I love Sister Fannie. I love her. But you were over your head. She's grassroots. but she's not a hybrid. Yes, she's trying, Sister Alma. I love her. But now, so you trying to emulate the bourgeoisie Negroes. Yo, keep on going.
Reverend Edwin King from Tougaloo College, which is a chaplain there at Tougaloo College. He is the national committee man. It's open to all people. And I would say that he's grown quite a bit for the past, 2 or 3 months.
In the last 2 or 3 months, it's been growing more rapidly then?
Yes, because so many people now, like the people that's on strike in Mississippi, that wasn't involved in anything, not only now participate with the Mississippi Freedom Labor Union, but the Mississippi Freedom Democrat Party too.
Do you have an approximate idea of your membership?
Well, it should be, I'm not sure, but it should be close to 78,000.
And how are they organized and where? Are they across Mississippi and Alabama only, or
Well,
wider?
actually right now, the Mississippi Freedom Democrat Party is only in Mississippi, but they...
Stop.
A lot of people, right?
Now, you know damn well y'all ain't got no 78,000. You know damn well you ain't got no 78,000 members. Because guess who was alive? This is 1964 now. Who was still alive at that time, Jamani?
Martin Luther King,
Martin Luther King was alive. Who else was alive?
Malcolm X.
He had just gotten assassinated, but he didn't even have, in his OAU, hell, he might didn't have 100 members.
Yep.
Who else was alive? Jesse Jackson.
Stokely Carmichael, he's around.
The Black Panthers were the Deacons for the Spirit.
Yeah. They were alive and well, actually, and moving.
You know damn well, okay, but, and he trying to say, okay, what they at? How you count them? Well, now you would know if you got 78,000 members.
Yeah.
Keep going, man.
We have something I would say similar to the Freedom Democrat Party is beginning to pick up in other states. People as Negroes in other states, even in the North, in New York City, and Brooklyn is beginning to run candidates, in that area. That's right.
Must be scaring the daylights out of the Democratic Party to split the vote for them.
It might be, but that is what's happening now.
That's one way of changing the Democratic Party.
And it's one way of bringing a change, for the poor people all across the country.
There's another party now forming that's out here called the Federalist Party that breaks away from the Democratic Party and also, of course, from the Republican Party on foreign policy issues and on all these other things that's forming out here with a strong commitment to civil rights and against the war in Vietnam and similar things. Do you know that?
No, I didn't.
We're just starting here.
Stop. So she didn't even know about her competition, the Federalist Party. So, he's letting it be. If you're going to be in this game on a national level, you got to know these different parties. Keep on going.
Before joining the Freedom Democratic Party, Mrs. Hamer had been a sharecropper on a Mississippi plantation. Her husband also worked there. He had advanced to the position of foreman. But even for a foreman, which is the high point of opportunity for a Negro there, life on a southern plantation meant long hours, low wages, humiliating conditions of work, and perhaps worst of all, no hope of being accorded fair treatment, a decent standard of living, and respect as a human being. However, Negroes were now demanding equal rights, and thousands were attempting to register to vote for the first time in their lives. Among them was Mrs. Hamer. Immediately after taking the literacy test to qualify for registration as a voter in Mississippi, she learned what it costs to challenge the system of white supremacy and white privilege in that state.
I was forced away from the plantation because I wouldn't go back and withdraw, my literacy test after I had tried to take it. I wouldn't go back, and I had to leave, and my husband was forced to stay on this plantation until after the harvest season was over, and then the man that we had worked for, he'd taken the car, and most of the few things we had been stolen, and I've been in jail, and I've been beat.
Yeah, tell us about that. On what grounds did they jail you?
it wasn't no grounds. You know, I don't understand that until today. I had been to a voter registration workshop, you know, they were just training and teaching us how to register, to pass the literacy test. And it was giving us enough training that we could tell other people, you know, how to pass the literacy test. So we had attended a workshop from the 3rd of June through the 8th. We finished the workshop on the 8th, and then we got the Continental Trailway bus to come back to Mississippi. And we got to Winona, Mississippi, I would say about 10:30 that Sunday morning on our way back to Greenwood. And we had got in 25 miles of the voter registration headquarters. And the bus stopped in Winona, you know, at the bus terminal. And 4 people got off of the bus, you know, to use the restaurant to get food. And 2 people got off to use the washroom while I was still on the bus. When I looked through the glass, I saw the people rush out. And one of the girls who had gone in the washroom, she just got back on the bus. And I stepped off to see what had happened. And Miss Punda told me that it was a state highway patrolman and a chief of police on the inside, and began to tap them on the shoulders with billy clubs and order them to get out. And I said, well, this is Mississippi. So I got back on the bus, and as soon as I was seated, I saw them when they began to put the 5 people, what was, you know, off the bus, but they wasn't over 6 feet from the bus, began to put them in the highway patrolman's car. And I stepped off again because I was holding one of the ladies' irons, you know, that they was arresting. And she said, get back on the bus, Miss Hamer. And then I heard somebody scream from the car that she was in and said, get that one there. And then a white man stepped out of a car and told me I was under arrest. And when he opened the door and I went to get in the car, he kicked me. And they carried me on down to the county jail where they had the other highway patrolman had carried the other 5. And they, you know, when I walked in with the 2 white men that had carried me down, and they cursed me all the way down. They would ask me questions, and when I would try to answer, they would tell me to hush. And when I walked inside of the booking room, one of the policemen went over and jumped up on one of the Negroes' feet that was with us, and then they just began to, you know, put us in cells. And I was put in a cell with Miss Yvesta Simpson. And after I was put in this cell, I could just hear some horrible screams and horrible sounds, you know, of licks. And I saw one of the girls was 15 years old, was with us, and she passed my cell, and she was real bloody. And then they asked the little man that cleaned up the jail to go inside and mop up that blood. And then I heard some more screaming, and I heard some awful sounds. And I would hear somebody when they say, can't you say yes, sir, nigger? Can't you say yes, sir? And they would call her names that I wouldn't want to go on tape. And she said, yes, I can say yes, sir. So I said. And she said, I don't know you well enough. And I would hear when she would hit the floor again. And finally she began to pray. And she asked God to have mercy on these people because they didn't know what they was doing. And after a while they...
I love my people. But this damn Christianity got us so messed up. So they damn near to kill her. They damn near to kill her. And she's still asking to pray for them, for they know not what they do. Knowing goddamn well they know what they're doing. But this is where Christianity has messed our people slap up. The version of Christianity that has impacted our people. I mean, this is a first-hand account, and it's sickening. I love Sister Fanny, but our people, man, oh my goodness, keep on going.
They passed my cell door with this young woman, Miss Annelle Punda, and one of her eyes looked like blood, and her hair was standing up on her head, and her clothes had been torn from the shoulder down to the waist. And then 3 white men came to my cell, and one of them was a state highway patrolman because he was wearing a little silver plate across his pocket that said John L. Bassinger. And he asked me where I was from, and I told him I was from Roosevelt, and he said, I'm going to check that. And he went out, and I guess he called Roosevelt, and they didn't like me in Roosevelt because I worked with voter registration there. And when he came back, he said, you damn right. They said, you're from Roosevelt, all right, and we going to make you wish you was dead. And they led me out of that cell into another cell, and he gave a Negro prisoner a blackjack, and he ordered me to lay down on a bunk bed. And a Negro prisoner said, do you want me to beat her with this, sir? And he said, you damn right, because if you don't, you know what I'll do for you. And I laid down on the bunk like he ordered me to do. And the first Negro beat me. He beat me until he was exhausted. And after he beat, the state highway patrolman ordered the second Negro to take the blackjack. And during the time he was beating, I began to work my feet because that was a horrible experience. The state highway patrolman ordered the first Negro that had beat to sit on my feet while the second one beat. And I just began to scream where I couldn't control it. And then the white man got up and began to beat me in my head. I have a blood clot now in the artery to the left eye and a permanent kidney injury on the right side from that beating. These are the things that we go through in the state of Mississippi, just trying to be treated like a human being. But still, this is called a part of America.
I suppose it's a naive question, but is there no possibility?
Sister Alma wants to know what is a blackjack. That's the stick that they would, the baton. Yeah, you know, it's baton, and it's black. It's a hard piece, and they just beat the hell out of it with it. Yeah, like a billy club.
Making a civil complaint or criminal complaint, whatever it would amount to, against these people for this beating?
The Justice Department brought a suit against these 5 law officials from Mississippi. And they had their trial in Oxford. And they had every evidence in the world, if it ever was going to be any people convicted. Because we had flew to Washington, D.C. and had the pictures made, and they had the pictures today of what happened to us in that jail. The bus driver, they even had the waitresses from Winona at the bus terminal that said we hadn't done anything. We hadn't done no demonstration. The Negroes that they forced to beat me, they came and they told the truth. They told how these white men had made them drink corn whiskey before they did beat us, because they figured, you know, if they didn't have something in them, that they might not do it. They told all of that, and nothing have been done. Those same men.
Yet the damn young girl praying and saying that they don't know what they're doing. See, they set it up because they wanted to absolve themselves and frame the Negroes, although they knew that they would kill the Negroes if they didn't beat them. They wanted to be able to have plausible deniability. But they don't know what they're doing, though. So, Lord, pray for them. Lord, pray for them. Lord, pray for them. Pray for their goddamn death. Keep on going.
And before I move on, we've had a conversation about this, and it's a serious issue, but there's also an element in it that doesn't sit well with me. We know Black people in general, Sister Fannie Lou Hamer in particular, we know the abuse was common. She's talking about one of the times that she was beaten by racist cops in Mississippi in the South. This week, you and I were talking about a brother who was a police officer, soldier.
Yeah.
He got tired of racism, white people being unfair, not treating us right.
Yeah.
So his answer to all of that is to kill himself.
Kill himself.
So you know racism is real. You know we're not treated right. You know we catching hell. You got a family. So your answer is to take yourself off the battlefield and leave your family to fend for themselves.
Yeah.
How do we how do we juxtapose that with what this sister has gone through her entire life? Never quit, never committed suicide, kept it going.
Yeah.
And that kind of, I don't know, suicide is such a sensitive thing, but Lord have mercy, if you're going to remove yourself, how's that helping? And what does that say about brothers that do that?
So that's why I always hit on the point of understanding the difference between a male and a man. And Taro just hit on the fact of post-traumatic slave syndrome, and that's a part of it. But Fannie Lou Hamer was a warrior. And we can critique, and that's why I'm critiquing. We can critique her not knowing certain things.
Right.
But she was indicative of that old gospel song that I grew up listening to at Republican Baptist Church before I became a spiritualist, culturalist at Xavier University. This old gospel song, Brother Tamani, I'm gonna stay on the battlefield for my Lord.
Come on, Ronnie. Come on, Ronnie.
Fannie Lou was about that life.
That's right, gangster.
She was about that life. Yeah, she was unconscious. Yeah, she was praying for her goddamn enemies, but she was about that life. Martin Luther King was about that life. For me to see a Negro confess to all of this racism in a goddamn video, and you the father of children, and you married, and you go and kill yourself, you a punk ass Negro. Bottom line, you worse than a coward. You worse than a coward. You a coward, but you worse than a coward. And you damn sure Fannie Lou Hamer had bigger balls than he would ever have. Claudette Colvin had bigger balls than he would ever have. Rosa Parks, all of these other courageous sisters and brothers. Anybody who complains about white supremacy, racism, and then you kill yourself, bruh, we shouldn't even have no funeral for you, man.
And also I want to clarify that we're not critiquing her personally. It's not like we're trying to tear her down. It's just an understanding of what she was ill-equipped to do because she didn't understand the entirety of what she was trying to do. Now we can bring this thing full circle from what she was trying to do in the 60s to now in 2020, 2021 moving forward. We had a meeting, Brother Craig, with a brother who said he started his own political party. So we had a meeting trying to find a way that we can work together. He was just as confused.
Exactly.
About how to start a political party, what the purpose of it is, how you function, how you roll, what you really should be trying to do. So it's not that we're trying to pounce on Sister Fannie Lou. The point is that our people are confused. Our people don't know how politics works, how gangster this game is, how it's a group process, how you got to have a team if you're going to make it work. There's so many things that we don't know, which is why we keep making the same mistakes.
Yeah.
I guess, are still wearing their guns.
It puzzles me that Negroes in the South have not set up, in a way, territories of their own, with their own armed people but the deacons now in the South.
I know, right?
The white boys even damn confused.
That white boy's on it.
The white boy's on it. He like, I don't understand. Why y'all ain't got something ready to kill these white folks? Keep on going.
South is armed defense organization, so that you're outside of the control of police officials like this. Why has this not happened? Is it because the white people there are so powerful that such a rebellion has been impossible?
They are very powerful in the state of Mississippi. But some of the people, I think, is beginning to get where now they just don't care. They are beginning to see if they try to do anything for themselves, well, they'll be killed anyway.
By the police officials?
By the police officials, because it's nowhere that I would call myself going in the state of Mississippi to be protected by a police official, because they are worse than a savage.
The federal government isn't able to effectively give you security?
No, because as you know, the 3 civil rights workers that was murdered in Mississippi, they said their civil rights hadn't been violated, but they are dead.
And one of their killers is still the sheriff.
That's right. In fact, the same men, Rainey and Price, was assisting the people across the street when they was having memorial service this year for Cheney, Goodman, and Michael Shriner. And Michael Shriner was a Jewish person, but he was one of the greatest men I ever met.
You knew him?
I knew him very well, and his wife, Rita. And you know, I couldn't have went there for a memorial service and let these same 2 police officials guard me across the street. I wouldn't have been low enough to low their death to go across the street, let them guard me across the street. When if it hadn't been for them, they wouldn't have been dead.
What do you feel about the deacons? This is frightening some white people, but I can't understand why they don't understand that this is a natural development.
I think it's one of the greatest things that ever happened. In fact, I admire those people. I respect those people because they are doing what I believe every Negro under the heaven feel if he doesn't have the guts to say it.
What do you think of Malcolm X?
If y'all don't know who he's talking about, you all need to do some homework on the Deacons for Defense. See, we don't play that goddamn foolishness in the booth. We're gonna bust a cap. We're gonna bust some caps, and this is where the Black Panther Party gets their start from the Deacons for Defense and the Loudoun County's Democratic Party. And the Deacons for Defense was started in Jonesboro, Louisiana, and you can find a movie that Forrest Whitaker played in called Deacons for Defense, and that was about the Bogalusa chapter. But they were, hey man, hey bruh, hey, they was about that life. You gonna try to intimidate and shoot and kill our folks? We gonna handle our business. And they network, and they got weapons, and they got ammunition, and they got about that life. And Louisiana was the #1 state for revolts, uprisings during slavery. We don't play that down here, man. And basically all of your Huey P. Newton, Naru knows this. He ain't from no damn Oakland, California. He from Monroe, Louisiana. Stanley Tookie Williams out of Shreveport, Louisiana. Harry O that just got out of jail, right out of Oakdale, Louisiana. The movie that's getting ready to come out on Fred Hampton, he's out of Homer, Louisiana. Geronimo Pratt out of Morgan City, Louisiana. Johnny Cochran, Shreveport, Louisiana. Man, we don't play that down here, man. No, sir. No, sir. Keep on going, man.
Malcolm X was one of the best friends I ever had. A remarkable man. Oh, he was a great man. In fact, I had invited Malcolm X to come to Mississippi, and he was supposed to come to Mississippi on Monday and was killed that Sunday.
Now, he had belonged to the Muslim organization. Are the Muslim groups making much progress in the South? They seem mostly to be in the North.
Mostly in the North, because a whole lot of things that the Muslims stand for, I don't agree with their policies. But I did respect Malcolm X, and Malcolm X was a great man.
What can you think of that the Muslims advocate that you don't agree with? Can you think of?
One of the things is setting up a separate state. You know, just give the Negroes a state. They want a state, you know, set up. It would have to be more than a state for 20 million black people in this country, but just to have so much separation, you know, that we couldn't, you know, we wouldn't have to deal with white on no terms, and just put us out, what I would say, on a deserted island. And what we had thought of with a lot of white people in the country, we'd last about 2 days.
It's sort of reverse racism.
Yes, and just be wiped off the map.
Stop. So this is really where, so part of this is true. You're not going to separate yourself from these white folks. That's not going to happen. So that part I do agree with. But that really isn't why she's disagreeing with it. You're going to hear she closes out. She's just indoctrinated with Christianity. And she doesn't believe that Black folks can handle their own affairs. And see, unfortunately, this is where she's confused. Because between 1864 and 1944, our ancestors created over 200 Black township cities in the United States, and they were run by Black folks. And to this day, although Negroes during between 44 and 74 left these townships, there's still about 30, 35 of them still in existence. Grambling State University is home to Grambling, Louisiana. Or should I say Grambling, Louisiana is home to Grambling State University. Langston, Oklahoma, home to Langston University. And the game plan that we have with BGN is to focus our attention on these Black towns and other majority Black cities and towns where our people are at so that we can take over these things. So she's correct in terms of a separate state. That ain't never gonna happen. But we can take over cities. We can take over counties and parishes. But unfortunately, she wouldn't even believe that because she's been indoctrinated with Eurocentric Christianity.
And you know what's sad, Brother Craig, is that she will talk all day long about the evil of white people and how they're brutal. They're what you call them? Savages. But when someone says, well, let's do our own thing, no, we can't do that. Which goes to the psychology of her position. Yeah, which is unfortunate.
Because you see, I take this stand that I don't see all.
And Black people believe the same thing today, by the way. Yeah, we got to have white folks with us.
People is bad. If we didn't have some good white people, it wouldn't be anybody standing up, trying to help bring about a change and make things better, not only for the Negro, but it will benefit every human being in this country if we were just freed.
What do the people in your movement think about Dr. Martin Luther King and his approach to this whole problem?
Well, I couldn't just say in Mississippi because people have different feelings about Dr. King.
They feel that he's accepting too slow a rate of progress?
Well, to me, it is somewhat slow, but Dr. King's organization do have some great people like Mrs. September P. Clark that wrote the book Echoes in My Soul is a great woman, and there's quite a few other people that I admire in the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and respect. But I take this stand with any person, a person that was born in the middle class that have never had to suffer. You can afford to take things maybe easier than I can, and all I've ever done was suffer, you see. And in fact, a person that's born in the middle class and have always had things somewhat decent, he can't make a decision for me because he actually don't know how I feel.
When we mention middle class and middle class.
Now, Tamani will put in the chat window the 6 factions of African descendants as the Creator blessed me to break this down. And what she's talking about right now are the bourgeoisie Negroes who cannot speak for grassroots people. And Martin Luther King was one of those people. And so she was what I would call a grassroots Black person. She meant well, she just didn't know. But bourgeoisie Negroes do not have the same politics of melanated Black people, and definitely not melanated grassroots hybrid Black people. And so that's what she's talking about. There's a distinction, and she's letting it be known. And I've told people this in workshops before. No, sir. Neither Martin Luther King nor any bourgeoisie person can speak for grassroots Black people because our experiences are totally different. Keep on going, Brother Smart.
Class Negroes. I'm thinking of Leroy Jones, who's middle class Negro, but is one of the most violent of the young Negro writers and lecturers. How do your people feel about him?
Well, in Mississippi, it's not too many people know Leroy Jones, although I know Leroy Jones.
Now, if you don't know Leroy Jones, that's Amir Baraka. Leroy Jones was a token Negro. But because he wrote, he could play games with words. He ain't never been a revolutionary. He married a white chick. He used to be married to a sister, but he married a white chick, got with a couple of white chicks. And so these Negroes were romantic revolutionaries. As a matter of fact, Dr. John Henry Clark refers to them as liberation entertainers. And that's, yeah, the violent, violent. I know, Sister Alma, violent. No, it's the revolutionary talk. And whenever you hear anybody respond to white folks in self-defense, they want to say it's violent. And when you're responding to violence, savage violence, and you respond to that, you're not responding with violence. You are responding with force, but the force you're responding to it with is self-defense. Self-defense and violence are two different things. Both of them use force, but it's the intent of the force that is used that determines what type of force it is. If it's offensive force, it's violent. If it is defensive force, it's self-defense. But Leroy Jones was not a violent writer, but he was a sellout. Keep on going.
But it's a wonder every Negro in the United States didn't feel exactly like Leroy Jones. It's enough to have happened to us that we should all, if we wanted to feel like that. But I've never been, my parent brought me up as Christian people, and I believe strongly in Christianity. And to me, if I hate you because you hate me, I'm no better than you are. And I don't hate a person because they hate.
So that's why I said what I said again. The Christianity has established a slave pathology in our people. So her premise is she gonna love the evil and the hate out of the folks. Now look how crazy this is. She disagrees with the Nation of Islam by separating from the people.
That's right.
But she's willing to constantly roll with the people who hate and destroy and kill her. Do you know how crazy that is? Do you know how crazy that is? Do you know how crazy that is? This slave pathology has messed our people up so bad that you will disagree. I don't care how idealistic it is for the Nation of Islam to ask for a separate state. The point is, they know that we will never be in any type of just society with these savages and killers. So that's where their idealism comes from. But she's willing to not roll with them and go beg white folks who done beat the hell out of her, who done messed over her. But Christianity tells her to love them and be against her brother. God damn. Keep on.
Hate me. I'll try to free that person too.
Are there any people you see among the people?
Did y'all just hear that? Rewind that just a little bit, man.
Because they hate me. I'll try to free that person too.
Are there any people you...
She said she would try to free them too. God dang it. Listen, man, our people have been programmed to love these white folks.
Yep.
I don't even argue with them no more because I've studied. Listen to me. I got 50 PhDs. Y'all might say, how the hell you get 50 PhDs? I got 50 PhDs. Niggerology, niggermetrics, niggometry, niggerosis, niggerilla, crocotology, crocatosis. Listen, man, listen. I study these Negroes. And the Negro love white folks. Don't ever think these Negroes do not love white folks. They do. And as much as I love Sister Fanny, I had to send this video to Brother Tamani, and I'm so glad that he took the focus of premiering this tonight so we can break it down. But y'all need to understand what post-traumatic slave syndrome really looks like. This is serious, man. Keep on going.
You see, among the people who are speaking for the Negro, apart from the people you've mentioned in your own organization, for instance, Louis Lomax or James Baldwin, or people like that you regard as being significant now for the future?
Yes, I think James Baldwin is a great man. I have great respect for James Baldwin.
Are you hopeful of the future for your party, politically?
Yes, I'm hopeful for the future of this party because all across this country, we have young people that's very aware of what's going on in this country.
Your membership is largely young people, is it?
In the state, members of the Freedom Democratic Party will have to be 21. But we have so many other people, you see, out of the state of Mississippi is very concerned about the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party.
Yes, but I mean, people say 21 to 30. Are they is it in that age group you find most of your membership in Mississippi?
No, we have people from, I would say, 21 to 75.
Oh. Including a lot of older people then?
Yes.
They've given up their old attitude of accepting things. They
Yes,
have nothing to lose
in
now.
fact, well, some of the young workers there said that they had never been in a place that had as many older people working as we have in Mississippi.
Will you be standing for election at the next congressional elections?
Well, we plan to run people, you know. In fact, we have people in Sunflower County where I live, as we hope to run for circuit clerk in Sunflower County, and we will be having people to run all over the state for state election, county, on up to the United States representative and senators too.
I suppose money is always a problem.
Oh, money is always a problem.
More than for the other parties, though.
Yes.
Do you find you can get a space in the newspapers and radio stations? And
we hope to have, if we have enough money. We don't always have enough money, but we've been broke all our lives, so we go sometime without it, you know.
Mrs. Hamer, I must let you get back to your friends. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome. And
so there you have it. And you're absolutely correct. That's how you know that they didn't have 78,000 members because they couldn't raise any money. But again, I love Sister Fannie Lou, but this was a painful video to watch, and we're gonna do other videos to show you how and why our people are still in the position that we are in. And this is why the Black Gold Nation is doing something totally different. And we have a wide variety of talent within our ranks because you got to cover a lot of bases in order to do this work legitimately. So again, this was not a personal attack on Sister Fannie, but when you get in the public sector, public domain, your concepts, your thoughts, your movements must be critiqued and analyzed, pro and con, for future generations, so we don't make the same mistakes. And all that has been going on from that point, even before, to now, are the same idealistic, naive, unconscious, foolish concepts. And Brother Tamani, today I finally came up with the term. For years I've been wondering, what to call what our people do, because it's not thinking. Remember what I told you? They believe before they think.
Right.
I finally came up with the term. You know what our people do? Our people do
What?
when they're processing information in their unconscious mind,
Mm-hmm.
they hallucinate.
Yeah, I can dig that. Or fantasize.
They
Yeah.
hallucinate.
Yeah.
And that's where these are nothing but hallucinations. Our people are trained to hallucinate concepts of grandeur, concepts of fantasy, idealism, romanticism, and that's why they have us constantly in a perpetual dream state. But you got to wake up, and this is where truth is at, and why truth is so important. So I thank you guys, but this was, I think, a very good example for us to build on.
All right. Before we close out, we'll make sure that no one has any questions. We always start with Brother Naru because he always has a question. Brother Naru, you want to kick off the Q&A?
Yes, peace. How y'all doing tonight? I miss seeing my brother Ken tonight.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Ken's not here.
Yeah. So in the beginning, you kind of equated the sister Fannie Lou to the squad. I wanted to know if you could elaborate on that a little bit. Talk about some of their policies that they're not working that you see. Just is it because just they're in the system as senators, or is it their actual policy that you have a problem with? And then I have another question after that.
Yeah, very good question. So it's all about the fact that they're trying to create the illusion that they are a separate entity, but they're just a component of the Democratic Party. So whatever. So let me break this down. They're Congress people, right?
Right.
So Naru, the biggest hustle in American governmental politics is with Congress. You know why? It's the only.
I do.
Tell me, what's your preference?
Well, it's because of the terms. I would assume that's because of the term that they're there. You know, they're only there for 2 years or something like that. So what you gonna get done?
You're not gonna get a goddamn
You're
thing.
gonna get nothing done.
So think about that. It's the only position in America that's 2 years. All right. The Senate is 6 years. And the presidency
It's
is 4 years,
right.
And the Supreme Court is lifetime. The federal judgeships are lifetime. Governors, 4 years. State reps, 4 years. State senators, 4 years. Mayor, 4 years. City council, 4 years. Parish county commissioner, 4 years. School board rep, 4 years. Out of all of those positions, the only one that is 2 years is the most important position where federal policy starts. Now think about that. Think about that for a second. How in the hell are you going to ever do anything in 2 years? Because time you get in the office, there's a learning curve.
That's right.
And so once you've done the learning curve just a little bit, that's 1 year. Well, guess what you got to do already midway through your first year?
You got to run for office again.
That's right. You got to start raising money.
So all that the AOC and those chicks are doing, look at the hustle. They're proposing concepts that they didn't know goddamn well ain't gonna ever be voted on. They know this. So they give the illusion to the damn people that they're fighting for policy changes, but they just can't get them done. But they know they're not gonna start a third party, so they play the game. It's the game of marginalism, man. It's the game of tokenism. And it's so sad that our people just don't know. I tell people all the time, there are 2 words that you better learn about this game of politics when we ain't got legitimate grassroots people in office. And those 2 words, political theater. Political theater, because that's all this is. So yeah, my point about them is directly with Fannie Lou in that they are creating the illusion that they are different from the Democratic Party, but they're just inside of it trying to quote unquote be the soul of the damn party. The soul of the party don't mean a goddamn thing. Because if you ain't getting public policy passed, if you ain't got the vote, you just talking rhetoric.
Very well, very well. Okay, I got one more. I've been thinking about this. So, you know, we use the term white supremacy a lot, and I'm wondering if maybe we should come up with something different because it's, first of all, it's not true. They're not superior to us. So, and I think that it might play a psychological factor on some of our people to hear that term white supremacy, to make them believe actually that they are superior. So what do you feel about that? And do you think, you know, you're good about coming up with terms. So what do you think about that?
You know, it's interesting that you bring that up. My lead researcher referenced that a few years ago, and I told him, I said, there's no running from that term because it's not a declaration for us saying that white folks are supreme. This is just their philosophy of how they view themselves. So we had a discussion on that, and I said, you know, Marv, you can come up with something. I mean, that's cool, but at the end of the day, even if you came up with something, it would be irrelevant because it is their philosophy. See, they see themselves as supreme, and therefore that macro philosophy goes into the other philosophies that they roll with, which is the divine rights of kings and manifest destiny. That's just a fact, and there's no running from it. You know, it's just like if you hear manifest destiny a lot, somebody might say, oh, we need to change that term because we don't believe that white folks should control the whole world. Okay, we can believe that they shouldn't all goddamn
but they do.
But they do. And it's their philosophy. It's not that we are agreeing with their philosophy.
No, I wasn't saying that.
Yeah, I know. But it's not that we're agreeing with it. But the point is, this is what they believe. But they're the ones that's not going to say it. But they're not in the public. They say it in the private. But this is just where they're at. But Amari and I had this discussion, but we kind of had a stalemate on that. I'm still in favor of it. He's kind of sort of like you, not in favor of it. But, you know, it is one of those things. But I understand what you're saying, though.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Does anyone else have a question or comment for Brother Craig before we close this thing out? Any questions or comment from anybody? All right. Going once, going twice. Okay, Brother Craig, before I give you your opportunity to give your outro, as always, if you could have everyone take one thing away from tonight's show, what would that one thing be? You only get one thing that the people will walk away with. What would that one thing be?
The importance of being prepared before the bright light shine. The importance of being prepared before the bright light shine. See, most people will never believe that they'll be on a national stage or international stage, so they're never preparing. They're never preparing for the bright light. And so you gotta be prepared every day, because you never know what will happen. Okay? For the past few days, I've been getting prepared for the cashless society that's about to come. And it took a lot of hours to set my accounts up. Brother Harlan, as we move forward, as I was telling you earlier, he is brilliant. And it took a lot of time to set these accounts up, my cyber wallet, to buy these cryptocurrencies. And I'm getting prepared. And we're going to get our people prepared for what's about to come. Because I'm sorry to tell you, if you believe that the coronavirus is really about a damn virus, it's not. This is about something way deeper, and it is about a reset that's going on in this world. So we got to be prepared at all times before bright light shine. I like that. Be prepared at all times before the bright light shine.
You a poet and didn't know it, huh?
Oh my goodness. So yeah, you got to be prepared at all times before bright light shine, because you never know when you might be under the bright light.
When it's your time. See, you could have had a third rhyme. You never know when it's gonna be your time.
And you'll never know when it's gonna be your time. Exactly. And Sister Fannie Lou wasn't prepared, but she had courage. I love her for that.
Big time.
Because just like you brought up the police officer who killed himself, she stayed in the goddamn game. I'm gonna stay on the battlefield for
my Lord.
I'm gonna stay on.
Yes,
Cut
sir.
that out, man. Cut that out.
Yes, sir.
Hey, brother Craig, we're gonna have to make a song out of that line you just came up with. I like that, boy. Before the bright line shine, we got to do something with that.
Yeah, Patrice, that's a classic. That's an old Negro spiritual, damn it. And you say what you want. Them songs got us through. Sometimes you got to sing them now.
I couldn't have gotten to the pathway of enlightenment and empowerment
That's right.
without those spirits.
That's right.
I love those songs.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll never hear me just completely come unglued on Christianity, because it did serve as a foundation for me to learn. But you know, in Scripture it says, as a child, I thought as a child. But as I grew and became a man or woman, I put away childish things.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to know that religiosity has to be put away, and we have to embrace spirituality, right culture, education, economics, socioeconomics, and politics in order for us to be empowered so that we can take care of our business that the Creator's put us on this planet for. So, but that's what I would leave with everybody.
All right. With that, we want to thank everybody for not only being here, but staying with us. We went a bit long because of the video. I do appreciate it. If you want to watch the movie review that we did for Deacons of Defense, it is on our media website, blackgoldmedia.net, blackgoldmedia.net. We've already done Deacons for Defense as a movie review, so it's there if you want to go watch it. So with that, as always, remember two things. No one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And absolutely, always, always, always remember that nothing is more sacred than the liberation and salvation of Black people. So with that, you guys have a wonderful evening. God bless, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.